Most of you by now know that among the things that peeve me the most is seeing a show where every single character acts like a prick. Where everyone is living just to torment and feed off the pain of another, and there's no one you can really want to see come out on top. There are certainly a lot of instances in South Park where this scenario happens, but to me, Cartmanland is one of the most blatant. It's a really bad job when you have an episode where Eric Cartman doesn't come off as the worst individual in the episode. And it's not like with Scott Tenorman Must Die, where they create a scenario that makes you want to see Cartman win. No, Cartman's still a jerk with no reason for us to really like him here, but none of the other characters do anything to make us want to see them come out on top either. That would be bad enough, but the episode also fails from a story perspective due to some big plot holes that not even the basic suspension of disbelief for comedy can make you ignore them. I think most of you know the plot of this episode, but let's get to it anyway. The episode begins at the funeral for Cartman's grandmother. It really doesn't do anything other than to show the grandmother is dead, so we can then move on to the reading of the will. Cartman is being Cartman and whining about having to be there until the lawyer announces that his grandmother left him with a little parting gift.
$1 million.
Who's a gigawatt?
Meanwhile, Stan and Kyle are pretending to blow up Jennifer Lopez because making bad movies is punishable by death to them. Funny how they didn't want to kill the makers of Basketball or Team America when Kenny tells them about Cartman's new fortune. Upon seeing that it's true, Kyle doesn't take it well.
This isn't possible, Stan. Cartman is the biggest asshole in the world. How is it that God gives him $1 million?
We'll get back to that, but for now, Cartman knows exactly what he wants to use his money for. To buy his own amusement park. You know, $1 million seems like a paltry sum to pay for a whole theme park, but that might be because the owner admits the park has been a failure due to him being unable to draw patrons. But Cartman says he has no intention of getting people to come. He wants the place just for himself, going on about how he hates the crowds and lines that come with theme parks in an obvious parody of The Grinch that is kind of funny.
And so you see, this park is for me. Nobody else will be allowed in.
So while Cartman prepares to spend the rest of his life gorging on funnel cakes and riding the tilt-a-whirl, Kyle is pouting in synagogue over what just recently happened to him.
I have a hemorrhoid. It's like an infected blood vessel on your ass. I'm 9 years old, and I have a hemorrhoid, Stan.
He basically whines on and on about how he's a better person than Cartman, and the whole thing isn't fair that he's got a hemorrhoid while Cartman gets to buy his own theme park, and this is causing him to renounce his faith. Yeah, forget about the Holocaust and hate crimes and natural disasters that kill millions of innocent people all the time. This is what causes Kyle to believe there is no God. That he has to deal with a bad blister on his butt while Cartman's grandmother chose herself to give him $1 million. And keep in mind, this episode is from season 5, which means it aired before the likes of Kenny Dies and Up the Down Steroid and The Passion of the Jew and Cartoon Wars, where Cartman fully became the sociopath, anarchist, neo-Nazi Cartman. Here, he's just rude, greedy, selfish Cartman. But neither Kyle or Stan are acting any better. And yes, I say that even as Cartman goes so far as to air a commercial for the renamed Cartmanland just to say how no one else can attend. Seriously, let's think about this. If Cartman doesn't want to be around the others, and the others don't really want Cartman to be around them, who's really losing in this situation? Yes, Cartman didn't need to rub it in with the commercial and everything, but if Stan and Kyle could have just turned the other cheek and said they don't care and gone on with their lives, everyone could have been satisfied. And yes, I do know what the other message of this episode was. About how Cartman making the park unavailable to anyone else ends up making it desirable for people again, symbolizing the animalistic desire to want what you can't have. But Stan and Kyle don't want to get into the park just because it's off limits. It's specifically because Cartman made it off limits. Their entire issue is they can't stand seeing Cartman happy, and they are out to just to try and piss him off. That doesn't make you the the good guys here, it makes you every bit as petty as Cartman. So because of their little escapade, Cartman decides he needs security for his park. Unfortunately for him, the security guard he hires actually expects to be paid for his work. So Cartman has to relent to letting in 2 people a day to the park at a rate of $30 a ticket in order to pay the guard. Wow, you only make $60 a day as a security guard? I know this episode was 15 years ago, but damn dude, you can make more money delivering pizza. Of course, this leads to the next problem for Eric, as both Craig and Butters here want to go on the same ride as him, plus the ride broke down, so now he needs to hire a maintenance person to fix it. And this is where the plot really breaks down, because why is it only now that Cartman suddenly needs more money? I mean, even if we accept that all the rides were already running and constantly doing so when Cartman first took over, so he never had to turn them on himself, their operation would have meant keeping the power running all the time, which certainly was costing him money. Not to mention how he was able to put up a whole new sign and put his name on the place, and then produce and air a whole TV commercial. They don't exactly let you put those things on the air for free, you know. When the whole purpose of the second half of the plot is how Cartman needs to keep producing more and more revenue in order to maintain the park, it just makes the fact that they were overlooking a need for money in order to advance the plot that much bigger. So while Kyle's in the hospital literally losing his will to live, Cartman has to keep bringing in more and more people, ultimately coming to 816 people a day. Thus, the park becomes a huge success now, and Cartman is praised as a business genius for his marketing strategy of making the place desirable, and we're shown how other businesses are using the same technique of holding back their products to inflate the demand. Wait a minute. Nah. But of course, none of that matters to Cartman, since now he can't enjoy the park by himself like he wanted to. And thus, the finish comes when Eric demands the old owner buy back the park for the same price, which the owner is more than willing to do now that the park is a financial success. And then once the transaction is complete, the IRS comes after Cartman and fines him half of his money for unpaid back taxes. Wouldn't the responsibility of those taxes now fall to the new owner of the park? And they take the rest of the money away because of the wrongful death suit Kenny's parents launched. Because of course the IRS would be the ones collecting the money from a civil suit. And this all happens just as Kyle is about to die, but Stan gets him wheeled all the way to the park to see Cartman all upset and miserable because now he no longer has the park or his money. And of course, this is what causes Kyle to finally recover from his ailments and restore his faith in God, seeing Cartman be miserable to satisfy his own petty bitterness towards him.
You are up there.
Kyle, you're an asshole! Yes, Cartman is an asshole too, but at least he's honest about being one, while you're a pretentious asshole who thinks he's better than everyone else. Hell, I'm a jerk who sanctimoniously criticizes one of the most popular animated shows in history, but even I'm willing to admit that I'm an asshole. So from one asshole to another, up yours, Bravlovsky.